Hey guys, it's Landon and you're watching the Transtastic 5. This week we're discussing questions that are frequently asked to transgender people. I posted on Facebook a status about the video idea and asked for my Facebook friends to message me questions that they might have without worrying about offending me, because I wouldn't get offended. So yeah. So the first question: how hard was it for your family to accept the fact that you changed genders? Everyone in my family took a different amount of time to get over it, I guess you'd say. My older sister was accepting from the very start, and she called me he and Landon right away. My mom, I think, had trouble, understanding and accepting it. She didn't want to call me Landon or he or her son, but now she does, and it's cool. My dad has always kind of been a dick about it, really been a dick about it. He calls me Landon now to me, but calls me by my birth name to everyone else, so that's kind of shady. He, I guess, talked to my sister, my younger sister, about how it was wrong or something when she went over to his house for the weekend, and she wasn't very accepting with it after that, although she was before. I feel like my little sister now calls me Landon because my mom is, and she doesn't feel like she's gonna get in trouble for it. So that's cool. Who else is there? Devin, my brother. He's just kind of a dick in general, because that's Devin, but hey, I love you, Devin. I don't know what, I don't know, he's a weird character. He calls me Landon now, he calls me his brother. He seems to be alright with it. We talk, wouldn't say close, but we talk. What was your biggest obstacle in being comfortable and being as open as you are? I think what helps me be comfortable with being open is that I decided to really come out to help other people, other transgender people that were afraid to stand up and speak for themselves. So I had to get over the fact that, yes, I'm scared and people are rude, but I needed to do that, not for myself, but for other people. Do people often argue that you're gay or lesbian and not transgender? I haven't ever been in an argument about that. I've heard stories about my friends who were in an argument about people calling them gay or lesbian, but I feel like people don't realize that being transgender is not a sexual orientation, it's a gender identification, and people don't understand that, and they assume that since you're transgender, you like the same sex, which is not always the case. It's because there are trans men who like men, and there are trans women that like women, and that doesn't mean anything. What bathroom do you use in public? In public, I use the men's bathroom. I pass too well to use the women's bathroom. In public, people don't know me. They don't know that I'm trans. They just assume that I'm a guy, because I'm in the guy's bathroom. Which bathroom do you use at school? At school, it comes back to people knowing and not knowing. Everyone at school knows that I'm transgender. I just don't want to walk into the bathroom and have a group of guys in there that know and that want to beat me up or something. So when there's a guy in the bathroom and I'm not in the bathroom yet, I'll stand outside in the hallway and get a drink of water until they're out of the bathroom so that I can go in and do my thing. Did your parents register you as male or female for school? Legally, I can't be put in as male in the school system, so my mom registers me as female because we don't have any other option. Nope. I get to class early, I introduce myself, I tell them that my name is so-and-so on the roster, but I go by a different name, and they'll cross my birth name out and they're like, alright, whatever. And I always tell them first day of school, before class even starts, before everyone else is in there, because then no one will overhear, no one will question, although everyone knows. That, and I think if you tell them in the beginning of the year, it won't be hard for them to switch over because they don't know your birth name in the first place. Why would you do that to yourself? It's not like I want to be transgender. I don't know why anyone would want to be transgender, because it really sucks, and it really sucks being uncomfortable in your body. So I'm not really doing anything to myself except making myself more comfortable with myself by binding and packing and changing my name and trying to completely erase my past before I was Landon. Are you a boy or a girl? I hate this question. It doesn't really matter if I'm a boy or girl. I don't think it matters what's between my legs in order for us to be friends. I don't think that is a necessary fact for anyone to know to sustain a okay friendship and relationship. I think it just doesn't matter. But if you really need to know, I identify as a boy, so you should call me a boy because that's what I want. Aside from criticism from family and peers, what is the hardest part about the entire transition? I don't know if I said this in any other of my answers, but I think the actual physical coming out is always the hardest part, because that's when you just kind of figure out who you are, or that's who you think you are. And I was afraid to come out because I didn't want to say I was something, then realize I was wrong. And I also didn't want people to constantly question me, because when people question me, I start to doubt myself, because I think, why do they keep asking? Why don't they just know? So definitely just coming out was the hardest part. What are some good things that you have learned and experienced? I have learned that not everyone in this world is a Bible-humping conservative Republican with 6 sticks up their ass. After you get past all the questions, no one really cares that you're trans, because you're just you. And if someone is a decent human being, that's all that matters, is that you're you, and that the thing between your ears is more important than the thing between your legs. I've definitely had very good experiences. I was featured in the school's newspaper. I think I mentioned that in an earlier video. I was known as the first out transgender at my school in a very long time. Me coming out through the crier was a big way for other trans people to know that they're not alone, and that if Landon did it, then I can do it, kind of thing. And I've experienced being a role model and a motivation and inspiration, and that's probably the best feeling you'll ever feel. I was also on the front page of a newspaper. The newspaper company came into school and took pictures of the GSA meeting, and I was mentioned in the article, and I liked being in that one because even though I was in the crier already, I can help people that are transgender that aren't in my school district. Why Landon? The name Landon came from the movie A Walk to Remember, based on the book by Nicholas Sparks. The main character's name is Landon, and that's always been one of my favorite movies ever since I was a kid. And when I was searching through baby names, I saw Landon and I was like, whoa, that's a cool name, I want it. And so I guess you could say it's because of the movie. I was gonna go, if I had known that my mom wanted to name me Zachary if I were born a boy, I would have chosen Zachary. I'm thinking about it in like college or something, but I feel like that would be hard, switching to a new name after being Landon for 2-3 years now. And if it doesn't work, people aren't going to want to switch back. When did you know? I don't want to say I always knew, because sex and gender isn't something that is being pushed on you very heavily until you're older, so you don't think about that when you're a kid. But I've definitely had some incidents in the past where when I look back at them, I was like, wow, they all make sense. There was one time I walked outside without my shirt on, and my friends were like, what are you doing? Go put a shirt on. And I said, my dad can walk around without a shirt on, why can't I? One time I climbed a tree at an old house I lived in, and I took a tennis ball with me and I put it in my pants to simulate the look of a bulge. Everyone played house as a kid, and everyone was always a certain character, and I was always the boy, I was always the dad, I was always the brother, I was always a boy. Everyone played house when they were a kid, and they were always a certain character. I was always the boy, I was always the dad, the grandpa, the brother, the boyfriend. Those are some of the big things that I look past that totally makes sense now. But I think I really, truly knew was the summer before my sophomore year. I was kind of thinking about it all through 8th grade and freshman year, but I didn't really, I don't know, I just thought of it as whatever. I didn't look into it very much, and it's not when I really started feeling transgender until end of my freshman year, and I came out beginning of sophomore year, so I guess sophomore year is when I knew. What could parents do to be more supportive? I think as a parent you could listen to what your kid has to say instead of just blowing them off, because then they're just going to assume that you're not okay with it, instead of actually knowing and hearing you say that you're not okay with it. Something I wanted my mom to do was be honest. If I asked her, how do you feel about it, I wanted her to give me a straightforward answer instead of having to sugarcoat it for me. Because like I said, I don't want to have to assume and then make her out to be a bad person, although she's not, or she meant something different than what she was suggesting. I think another thing you could do is not treat it as a phase, because if your kid wants help, like in my case, get them help and help them be comfortable in any way they can be comfortable, and make them feel at ease with themselves as much as you could. I'm not saying get them testosterone right away, get them chest surgery right away, but you definitely need to help them and talk to them, or get them someone to talk to. Something I think you should do as a parent is not treat it as a phase, because even if it is a phase, if you treat it like a phase, they're going to get angry, and then they're going to think that you hate them and you don't want anything to do with it, and it just, I don't know, just don't treat it as a phase, I guess you could say. You could also respect their wishes. Like if they choose a name they want to be called by, then call them by that name. If they want to be called he, then call them by he and him and your son. And it can be hard. I've seen it through my mom, and I know that it's hard, but if you try and slip up a couple times, they're not going to care that you slipped up because they know you're trying. I had a friend that came out to his parents, and his dad actually helped him pick a name. And I feel like you could even do that, because that way you still have kind of a say in what their name is, and you kind of help them choose, and that'll bring you two closer in the long run. Do you have any fears related to being transgender? I have a ton of fears related to being transgender. I'm afraid of being sexually harassed, not by anyone in specific, but just kind of in general. I'm afraid of not passing, which sounds weird, but I've had people ask me to my face if I'm a boy or girl, like at work or at school, and I guess I'm afraid of the humiliation and embarrassment that it'll bring. I'm afraid that when I start testosterone, something is going to be wrong with my body and I can't, like, I don't know, maybe I'll have a bad liver or something. I'm afraid that my top surgery will go wrong when I get it, or I'm afraid that I won't like my results even though it'll be better than the alternative. I was afraid of losing a lot of important people when I came out, and if I did lose them, then I know that I'm better off without them instead of being bugged by them, but I was afraid of losing very good friends and relatives for me coming out and trying to be who I am. How do you go about explaining it to children who knew you as your birth name before you transitioned? Little kids just kind of assume that I'm a boy, which is fine. A lot of the time I tell kids to call me Ducky, because when I was a kid I always called people Ducky. It didn't matter if I knew your name or not. If I saw you, I was calling you Ducky, and that was that. Kids just kind of assume that I'm a boy, which is perfectly okay. A lot of the time I actually tell kids to call me Ducky, because Ducky was a nickname I had for everyone when I was a kid, and my mom recently brought it up to me and I laughed about it, and I started calling her Ducky again and she started calling me Ducky, and so I just kind of tell people, I tell kids to call me Ducky, and they think, you know, that's funny because they're 4, 5, 6 years old and they like ducks, apparently. I'm not that out to any relatives, like any aunts or uncles or cousins. They still call me by my birth name, and they still call me by she. So like my cousin Nathan, for example, he's 6 now, and he calls me by my birth name, and I just kind of let it go because it's not like I'm out to any of my family members anyways. What is the most offensive thing you've ever been told? That is a very good question. I don't really remember anything. I was dating this girl once, and I don't want to say names, although you can probably figure it out, but she identified as lesbian, and when I came out she said that she didn't think she could go about calling me Landon or her boyfriend, and I think that really brought me down because she was a really big support in my life. She was always there for me for stuff before coming out as trans, and I come out as trans and she doesn't really seem to support me or accept it very much. Another thing that bugged me was when I came out, my father told me that I'd always be his daughter and I wouldn't ever be Landon to him, and that bugged me because, you know, that's your parent telling you something, and I was 14 at the time, so I'm 14 years old, I've known him for 14 years of my life, and he won't respect my wishes in me trying to become who I was supposed to be. But honestly, other than those things, I can't think of any huge thing that's been said to me. So I guess that's good. But yeah, those are all the questions I got. I hope I cleared some stuff up for you guys. I answered them as best I could. Sorry if I didn't explain it well enough. You can privately message me and ask me then if you'd like. But yeah, thank you for the questions and thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.